It's common for most dungeon masters to own many different books for their D&D hobby. These books can span multiple editions and be from different publishers. It's like that joke, how many books does a dungeon master need? N plus 1. When we create adventures, we rely on material and creative inspiration from many different sources. But what about going directly to the source itself, the officially published Dungeon Master's Guides, first produced by TSR, the company that founded D&D, and now Wizards of the Coast, the current publisher? Which edition of DMGs are best at teaching how to create adventures for those who are new to the game, and which are best for DMs who've got some experience under their belt and need to get over a creative hump? Throughout the years, ever since Advanced Dungeons & Dragons came out in the late 1970s, in each iteration of Dungeon Master's Guides, the publishers of D&D have included resources to help the Dungeon Master create adventures from scratch. In this video, I describe how 4 editions of official DM's guides and 1 third-party edition stack up as resources for the new DM, the experienced old hand, or the harried DM needing to create an adventure in a hurry. Each has something to offer. The 5 DMGs I review are Advanced D&D First Edition from 1979, Basic D&D Basic Rules, the Moldvay edition from 1981, the Dungeon Master's Guide 5th Edition, the 2014 release, Old School Essentials Advanced Fantasy Referees Tome, and Dungeon Master's Guide 5th Edition, the 2024 release. I'm going to review them in the chronological order of their publication. Then I'm going to summarize my findings at the end, so be sure to watch throughout to the end of the video. To get you started though, here's an at-a-glance summary. AD&D First Edition is best for random generation tables. Basic 1981 is easiest self-contained on-ramp. The 2014 DMG is the biggest prompt toolbox. The Old School Essentials Referees Tome is the most concise yet complete source, and the 2024 DMG is the best overall teaching tool for beginners. Now, for the detail. We start with 1979's AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide. Reading the first edition DMG feels like sitting with a brilliant, opinionated mentor who hands you a bottomless bag of procedures. Its strengths are obvious: deep random dungeon and wilderness generation tables, practical stocking advice, and a referee-first mindset that expects you to place meaningful treasure on purpose with the assumption that you already have some experience with it. The weakness is organization. The How to Build an Adventure material is scattered across essays, appendices, and sidebars, so a newcomer can feel lost trying to stitch it together. If you already know what you want and enjoy tinkering with procedural engines, it's gold. If you want a tidy, linear recipe, it can feel like homework. If IKEA made a DM's adventuring created toolbox, this would be it. Here are my bullet points about the 1979 AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide. It's mostly errata and details that already assume you know how to play the game. The campaign section reads like a professor's lecture and lacks actionable steps. It describes climate, economics, social structure, monster ecology and placement, treasure placement, etc., in the tone of advice rather than specific step-by-step guidance. It includes a decent walkthrough of a sample dungeon, and finally, pages 169 through 223 in the appendix no less has random dungeon, wilderness, and monster generation tables. Next, we go to the 1981 Basic D&D Rulebook that was included in the Moldvay edition of the Basic Box set. The rulebook included everything you needed to know how to play the game, whether you were a player or a dungeon master. This is the best teacher for a brand new DM who wants to get into the old school renaissance. It says, draw a map, stock it, run it, then shows you exactly what that looks like with a sample dungeon. The strengths are clarity and immediacy. You can copy the cadence and be playing tonight. The trade-off is scope. It is laser focused on a simple dungeon crawl. If you're chasing intrigue, mysteries, or wilderness play, you will supply those muscles yourself. For a first dive into old school DMing though, it is hard to beat and still a joy to emulate for low prep nights. Here are the highlights. It has a monsters and treasure listed before the dungeon master information, which is how to create an adventure. It has 11 pages of actionable step-by-step content. It has a longer description of dungeon creation than is in Old School Essentials, which is essentially a derivative of AD&D and the basic box set, and is intended to be concise. It includes the standard 10 scenarios. There is no wilderness design information or guidance. It's all about the dungeon crawl. And it defines the 6 stages of the process you go through to create an adventure. Finally, its example dungeon creation process, the Haunted Keep, with key and sample walkthrough, is the best of the 5 DMGs reviewed. We're now entering the Wizards of the Coast era of D&D as we review the 2014 release of the 5th edition DMG. The 2014 edition is a big toolbox. It classifies adventures, gives you prompts for villains and goals, sprinkles in framing events, and supports it all with encounter guidelines and a random dungeon appendix. The strength is range. You get ingredients for crawls, intrigue, mysteries, and more, which is great when you need sparks fast. The weakness is that it hands you parts rather than a clear assembly guide. When I'm comfortable turning prompts into structure, it sings. When I want a straight recipe, I find myself paging around to connect the dots. If you already know how to structure an adventure, this is a great place to get inspiration for the individual components. Here are the highlights. The book starts right off in a campaign and adventure design and spans a lot of content from pages 9 through 123. It is very thorough, from multiverse to adventure types to encounters to NPCs. It covers dungeon, wilderness, and urban adventure types and includes random tables for traps. Its random dungeon charts span pages 290 through 301. It has a few sample chart starter maps that are full color but lack the old school feel, which is purely a subjective difference. And it reads like a complete course that covers everything, but it lacks the concise nature of old school essentials or the brevity of AD&D's tables. This next entry is the only third-party publication I've included. There are many, but this is the one I'm most familiar with and feel it represents a unique offering because it is concise and to the point, unlike the others in this review. We're talking about the Advanced Fantasy Referees Tome by Old School Essentials. OSE is the cleanest expression of classic exploratory prep that I have used. The procedures tell you exactly how to stock and restock, when to check for encounters, how to handle reaction and morale, and how to track time and light. It does all this without a lot of fluff. I can sketch a map, follow the procedures, and be ready to run in short order, and the incentives line up with player-led exploration. The weakness is narrative scaffolding, which is, as I mentioned, it's also a strength if concise material is your thing. It does not try to teach modern plot beats or scene framing, which means you add that layer yourself if you want it. For pure confident refereeing, OSE is a joy. If you want the quickest way to grasp how a D&D adventure is structured and what the process is to create one, this is the book for you. In fact, if I was going to recommend a single volume for today's old school rules aficionado, this would be it. Here are the highlights. It starts right off at the beginning of the book. It's succinct and to the point. It has 10 classic adventure scenarios. The creation is broken into 3 types: dungeon adventures, wilderness adventures, and how to create a base town. All of this in just 6 pages. Finally, there is no sample dungeon provided. I'm going to end my reviews with the current Dungeon Master's Guide produced by Wizards of the Coast, the 5th edition DMG, the 2024 edition. This is the first DMG that truly reads like a coach standing at your elbow. The adventure creation section walks you through a clear sequence: premise, hooks, encounters across 3 pillars, and a climax with rewards and follow-through. The strengths are structure and examples, which makes scope and pacing easy to copy. The weakness is depth and procedural generation. If you love heavy tables and vast generators, older books still earn shelf space. If I need to get from idea to table ready in one sitting, though, this is the smoothest ride. If you aren't interested in old school D&D play, or if you're brand new to the game and want something that's currently published, this is your go-to volume, even if you don't read anything else in the book. Here are the highlights. It opens with Dungeon Master fundamentals and session prep before scaling up to running games, building adventures, and then campaigns. It has been reorganized to be more accessible and to replace the 2014 Dungeon Master Guide's rules. It has 5 ready-to-run short adventures embedded in the Creating Adventures chapter to show the book's guidance in action. It contains a DM's toolbox that consolidates nuts and bolts options like traps, dungeons, hazards, and creation rules for backgrounds, creatures, spells, and magic items. This DMG features a full Greyhawk primer inside the Creating Campaigns chapter, plus a double-sided poster map. The Treasure chapter expands guidance and random tables with hundreds of magic items. It adds the new Bastion system, which is essentially player-owned strongholds with facilities, turns, orders, events, and base building between sessions. The Cosmology chapter tours the planes with practical travel and adventuring notes. And finally, the appendices include a lore glossary, a maps appendix with 15 reusable maps, and tracking sheets for table use. This video was not meant to be comprehensive. There are many outstanding third-party publications out there to choose from, and there are even official editions in between AD&D and 5e that I didn't include. The simple reason for these omissions is that I don't have access to those resources or have never played them to be familiar with them. I'm not going to provide a review of game material I've never played or used. So the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and which Dungeon Master's Guide should you use is: if you want the fastest path from blank page to playable session, reach for the Old School Essentials Referee's Tome. If you love a buffet of prompts you can assemble your own way, the 2014 release of the 5e DMG delivers. If you want confident, low-friction procedures for exploratory play, OSE is again a great choice. If you're teaching yourself the basics and want something current, go with the 2024 DMG. The 1980 booklet remains the smart choice for beginning DMs who want to get into old school play, and if you enjoy procedural tinkering and a living world referee ethos, the 1979 DMG is still a treasure trove. So which DMG do I reach for most often when I'm creating adventures? I've been a DM since the early 80s, but on those days when I need some inspiration, I probably reach for the Old School Essentials Referee's Tome the most, with the 2014 5e DMG in second place. Ultimately, they all provide inspiration to keep my DM's creative juices flowing. If you're a brand new DM, which of these options appeal to you most? If you're an old hat to dungeon mastering, you probably have used more than one of the options I've reviewed, or maybe even a resource not even listed. Be sure to share in the comments what you've found useful and why. I'd love to hear what you have found useful. Finally, if you found value in this video, be sure to click the like button and subscribe to support the channel. As always, have fun, stay cool, and keep your dice rolling.